Well, girls, welcome to part 2 of Sean being a fucking retard.
I was going to ask if you were going to bring it up.
Oh, I'm going to, because I do think that some of the greatest comedy in life is making fun of yourself. And if you can't make fun of yourself, you don't deserve to make fun of other people.
I bet you do that a lot.
Yeah, it's an easy icebreaker in the dating world, which we'll get to. Hi, Jaden.
Hi, again.
Lee is not here.
Leland.
And we have Kelsey, who is brand new, part 2. And Emily, who is now 3rd time recording because I'm a fucking idiot. So welcome.
I'm back.
Welcome to Sean's cerebral palsy bullshit. All right. So we had an interesting conversation 30 minutes in and didn't record any of the audio. So let's recap. You can go ahead and go again.
Okay.
Tinder. PP story.
PP story. Okay.
Go.
So I was married, got divorced. I had felt very lucky I didn't have to be in the online dating world. You hear the horror stories all the time. There's horrible people on there. There's scary people on there. But you can't really meet people organically anymore. As Sean said before,
They're too chicken shit.
Men are chicken shit.
Yes.
And I don't feel like women should have to.
No.
And I'm not good at it. I'm chicken shit too.
We'll get into that. There's a courting process that I feel like is severely missed, that even if you are the ugliest fucking dude in the world and have the little bit of window to get in with someone who is like 10 times hotter than you, if you can just follow the courting and keep doing it, you will then become the dude that everyone looks at like, how the fuck did that troll get that girl? Like, it's not a hard process.
I'm sure you just can't be chicken shit.
It's a lot more than that, but it's standing out in a world where there's a bunch of stupid men,
Bunch of dipshits,
a lot of midgets, and you can just stand up.
Shout out to Phil.
Phil. Anyway, go on with your PP story.
So I get divorced shortly after. I'm kind of like, I don't want to have to get back in the dating world. Like, this sucks. And my friend's like, well, let's make a Tinder. And so you can just see what's out there. Like, see that there is still good guys, interesting guys, So she makes a fake Tinder profile for me. She puts her name, but her friend's face, because she does not want her boyfriend's friends to see her on there.
You do understand that if a guy were to do this would be really weird.
Yes.
Okay.
I know it was very weird.
It's kind of catfishing.
Very catfishing.
Luckily, you used a bigger woman, so the catfish was actually a good catfish,
yes,
and not a bad catfish.
Yes, but to me, I was like, I'm not going to meet anybody from this anyway. Like, she's just trying to make a profile just to swipe through, So she finds this guy. He has all the same interests as me. He likes hunting. He likes horses. He likes dogs, I'm like, okay. And so they start messaging back and forth. She's like, so actually, she doesn't tell him right off the bat, like, I catfished you. She says, I actually have a friend that I feel like you might be more interested in. Sends him my picture, gives him my phone number. We start talking. So I was like, well, I'm not really ready to date, but what's it going to hurt, right? So we start dating, and it was really good. We had a lot of fun together, and we had a lot in common, and but he liked to drink. And at first it wasn't a huge issue until it was. He was going through a lot in his life. He starts drinking more and more. I can see it happening. At this point, I'm already a little bit invested,
You're watching someone's life unravel.
Yes. And I'm like, okay, I just kept making excuses. Like, he's going through this. He's going through this.
How long had it gone on? Up
Two-
until the PP incident.
Probably 3
days.
months.
2 days.
2 days.
2 months?
Yeah, 2-3 months around there. So one day, I don't have my daughter, and he's like, come out, we're going to barbecue. He's tossed by 2:00 in the afternoon. I'm like, whatever, we'll go have dinner, hang out, other than, sit at home. So I go out there, and I'm halfway out there. He lived pretty far away from me, and he goes, oh, by the way, we're actually going to go camping with my friends tonight. I'm like, cool. I love camping. So I go pick him up. I have to drive us out to camping, obviously.
You're like, I'm watching his life unravel in front of my eyes, but I trust you to go camping.
Was this the first time you guys hung out?
No.
Okay.
No. This was like
first time camping.
This was like 2-3 months in. This is like when it started to really crash.
Like you saw.
Yes. So we're halfway out there, and he's looking at his phone. He starts laughing. And I said, what's so funny? And he shows me. And he goes, these are my friends we're going camping with. It's this dude and his wife, a selfie of them. She's tits out. They're nice ones.
Fakies?
I don't think they were fake. I think they were naturally just nice tits.
Okay.
Oh.
I love boobies.
Must be nice,
Did you have
right?
kids?
I love
Yeah.
I love boobies.
And they were probably like 10 to 15 years older than us. And he was like, I was like, why? Like, got so confused. Why is this happening? He goes, well, they're swingers. Okay. And I don't know if they asked him to ask me or what, but he goes, are you cool with that? I said, I don't care what they do, but I'm not going to have a part of it. Like, I just want to make that clear right now. And so we get out there. They have clothes on. Everything's fine. Well, he gets drunk again. He had sobered up by the time we got there. Stopped and got him, some burritos because that solves all of your drunk problems.
Good burrito when you're drunk.
Yeah. He gets drunk again. So we go to bed.
Rallied.
He was known for the get drunk, sober up a little bit, rally again.
Okay.
So we get out there. We hang out by the fire for a little while. They were very respectful. They didn't, but he is the one that kept making comments about like me and the husband, him and the wife. And I'm like, I made it clear like that's not happening,
He's like, damn it, I just want to piss on this girl.
Right. So we go to bed in the camper, different beds than the husband and wife. I wake up in the night and he
To them?
pissed the bed.
Different.
No, they went straight to sleep. They weren't even like weird. But he had pissed the bed. So I scooched my ass over because I'm like, I had my clothes on still. So I tried to wake him up. There was no waking him up. He was
Your whole left leg like soaked. You're like, damn it, Brian, you did it again.
again. So he finally wakes up and he was like, what's all over the bed?
It's just sweat. It's just sweat.
Yeah, like you pissed the bed. No, that must have been you.
You should have said, did I not tell you I was a squirter?
Oh, by the way.
Well,
Technically, it's pee.
Is it?
it's a little bit
Yeah, it's... Let's just...
diluted.
Is it? I didn't know that. I don't know anything about that.
Side note, let's just say that there was an experiment done in Japan with 4 different women and 1 guy, and 2 of the women were lesbians, and they injected blue dye into their bladders, and the 2 women got each other off, and what came out was blue. And then the guy slept with the girl, and what came out was blue. So scientifically, technically, squirting is piss.
Well, because it's from your Skene's gland, but it's diluted urine.
Okay.
So there's like a couple different types of like
It's why you can swallow it.
female ejaculate.
I'm learning so much today.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Welcome to the science show.
Yeah. And like, who has time to do science about that?
I don't know.
Like,
It
I
was
want to
something
know
that-
what this is made of.
I saw it on Instagram. And I'm like, makes sense to me. Looked it up, and sure enough.
As a guy, there is nothing greater in the world than watching a girl squirt. Just tell you that right now. If you are talented enough to make a girl squirt, you know what you're doing. From personal experience.
Just pat yourself on the back.
Yes. Yes. Now we all go quiet.
So anyway,
We're all like, okay, enough of that.
Oh,
Okay.
shout out to Dave.
By the way, this is a Valentine's Day special. I didn't mention that. So
happy Valentine's Day.
instead of the roses and chocolates and fingers and buttholes, it's horrible
Oh.
dating stories.
Speaking of that,
You did that happen? Did that happen?
P guy liked that too.
Finger in the
Butthole?
butthole?
Yes.
Ooh, did he like the? Oh,
Ooh.
ooh, he was one of those.
I didn't do it. Asked for it. I couldn't. Like, I just can't.
Like, what is that? The rusty trombone. What is it called? The rusty trombone.
I think that's
Or
what
like-
it's called.
When when you lick it.
Oh God. No.
You should have done the pegging. You know what pegging is, right?
Yes, I know what pegging is. There's just something about a butthole that is not appealing to me.
I agree. For like full disclosure, like especially at work, if I walk into someone after they've gone in there and destroyed the toilet, I will want to like puke. It's hard to even go in there and just look yourself in the mirror, let alone just take a piss because someone
Especially
in there,
our bathrooms, they're bad.
they are bad. And yeah, like anything regarding poo is not. And hold on. I know there's girls out there, they're like, oh, well, if they just clean it up and they prep it, it's not that bad. Not true. That is not true from personal experience.
There's girls that try to talk men into it.
Yes. And they will prep themselves. They'll do the enema, the whole nine. They'll get like patchouli and spray it up there so you can't smell the shit. I don't know if they do patchouli, but
I was gonna say that's
right.
a very earthy smell.
it doesn't matter because when you pull it out and you smell shit,
Poop is poop.
poop is poop. And it's literally, I will go from like salute to I'm out of here. Seconds.
So
Can't do
you're
it.
not a anal fan.
No.
From a man to a woman, you're not an anal fan.
No.
I thought all men were.
Yeah, I did too.
I know there's men out there that are fascinated with sticking their dicks in holes that probably shouldn't like be stuck into. But I'm a very traditional, give me the puss and I'm good. Like, let me operate. Let me do my thing.
Cleaner.
Jaden, what's
It's
your
cleaner.
census on this?
Jaden, what's going on the reservation? What do they do?
Same as Sean.
Yeah, okay. I figured.
Good call, Jaden.
I'm interested to know like what the fascination is.
Tightness. So, like, if you are a guy and you lose your virginity, part of the whole thing of, you know, shooting your load so quick is not just the excitement of doing something primal, but of how tight it is. So that's why they always say, like, you choke your chicken, you know, tighten down on it. So after a while, you know, to some guys it becomes boring, and to some girls they like that satisfaction of being fucked in the ass. So it's a tightness.
Well, I think the liking it in the ass, full disclosure, not for me. But
You don't have to lie. It's fine.
full disclosure, don't like it.
We're all friends here.
It's the what I've heard. Anyways, it's like the sensation, like the whole. There's just as much like
Different
erogenous-
angles.
Well, the erogenous zone of it
For like
Yeah.
a man,
for the woman.
I think there's a G spot in your asshole.
for
Yeah.
guys there is. It's
I think
called-
there is
it's
for
the
women too.
I didn't know that.
I don't know
But-
for sure.
well,
That's
yeah.
what I hear.
There's
Every time.
prostate. Like men.
yeah.
prostate massage. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
like
that's
everyone's
supposed to be-
seen the movie Road Trip, and he's, you know, the nurse does it to him, and he's
Yeah.
freaking out. And then at the end of the movie, he's like, 2 fingers, or he's like, did I say 2 fingers? Better make it 3.
Yeah, supposedly it's like the best blowjob when you massage the prostate.
Well, you always have to mind the children.
Well,
You don't have to lick the children, just mind the children.
Acknowledge their existence.
Full disclosure, I do not like my balls touched at all.
why?
I just don't like it.
Why?
I don't know. It's happened a lot. I've literally been
Like someone was too rough with them, so you're like gun shy now?
No. It's just like, just put it this way. I've had scenarios where I'm in the act of screwing someone doggy style, and to have a hand reach up underneath, it's like the children under the stairs type shit. Don't do that. That's a surprise attack. A lot of guys do like that. I'm just not one of those guys.
But what about during like oral?
No. Don't mind my children. They're fine. I know it's weird. Everyone has their own little quirks and kinks and things that they like, you know.
Yeah.
So how do you get warmed up?
How do
Like, you can't expect a woman to just like go straight into it. Like there's got to be some warm up, like with some tongue, like a little bit of
Okay.
fondling.
So, full disclosure on my end, when I am in the act of wanting to have sex with someone or whatever, my goal is not to get off and be done. My goal is to get the woman off and then continue to get her off until she tells me no, and then continue to get her off. like I'm a giver. I love to give. I'm not a taker. So if I go out on a date, do the whole thing, and then we're sleeping together, I don't need it's nice to be able to, have someone just grab your dick, start fucking, shit that you and I have talked about in private. That's great. That's good stuff. I don't expect that though.
As friends, not as
No, yeah. Sorry, that was way out of context. But
as friends.
Emily got some coaching for a while. That's been very helpful. But for me, like I'm a giver. I'm not a taker. So like my whole thing is like, let me knock your fucking socks off, so you remember, like when you look back on your life, you're like, oh yeah, Sean fucked my goddamn brains out. That's winning for me. Because how many times have you girls had sex with guys and they get off in like a minute or two, and then
Too often.
and then you just sit there and you're like, this was fucking pointless. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. To me, it's like, no, let me get you off as many times as I possibly can.
You should start like a coaching seminar about that.
Emily, should I be a coach? I taught Emily how to text message.
Okay.
And the ebb and flow of how to do it. And
So I have been it was very helpful because from the time I was in high school until I was divorced, I've been divorced for almost 6 years. But then after I was divorced, I was in what I thought was a committed, serious relationship. To him, it wasn't. And so up until like a year ago, I had not been in the dating world since high school. So it was very foreign, like fucking bizarre to me when I got back into it. And I had no idea what I was doing. So when I told Sean about like my first few encounters with dating, getting back into it, it was like, this is so different. It's so different than back in the early 2000s when I was in high school and I had no idea what I was doing. And the shit he would tell me, I'm like, this isn't going to fucking work. No, that's not how we do it. And then it would work.
People don't say that.
Yeah. Like, but if I do that, like, I'll probably never hear from them again. Or if I say that, like, they're going to think I'm a fucking idiot. And sure enough, like, times have changed. Like, things
They
are
really have.
so different than what it was, like, 2003, when I graduated.
Yep.
And so I'm by any means no expert on dating. None whatsoever. So when it came down to it and I started dating again and it was like, all right, like, tired of the bullshit, like, I just want to find someone respectable who I can still maintain my autonomy and they can still maintain their autonomy, but like we have our time together, we have our time apart. They're under the understanding that like with me comes 3 kids, and whether they have kids or they don't have kids, like there's a mutual understanding. We have a mutual respect. It was a lot.
It's a lot.
It was a whole lot to fucking navigate.
Yeah.
And
Blending kids together and trying to deal with how the other one co-parents. And
yeah,
it's so much different than I married the person that I met in high school. And then I get divorced and I have a 1-year-old and I'm like bringing somebody else and, meshing those worlds together
Right.
and finding the right person that is.
and who knows if that
respectful
person that like you've decided you want to have a relationship with, like what if they've never been married before? What if they've never had kids before? Like for them navigating that new course, and whether or not you were in a long-term relationship with that person or a short-term relationship, like it's new for everybody. Like
Yep.
it's every
it's a very complex thing to teach someone because there's many different levels and like depending on where you're at in a relationship. So like for me, at face value, normally when 2 people meet, there's usually one party that likes the other person more than And what happens is as the text messaging progresses, one becomes a little bit more obsessive or gets their feelings hurt a lot more.
Right.
And so some of the things I taught Emily were more of like what I call a void, which is, if you like one thing I taught her was like, don't necessarily be the first one to reach out.
But it was also like you taught me to learn about different attachment methods. Like you
showing interest without.
Yeah, like you learn about other people, like as like you're going through with texting them, like what their type of attachment is. Like, oh, this person is more one of those like, I need to be in contact with you all the time, like in one of those like anxious attachments. Or you have those that are like, they're fine, like shit's fine. They don't care whether you reach out to them or not. Like,
so
it doesn't matter. Then there's some that are like totally avoidant, that are like any conflict or anything like that, like is intimidating to them, and so
don't want to deal with it.
It was for me, there's this huge ebb and flow that I had no idea because I hadn't been in the dating world for.
But now you're a master at it.
20 years.
So like I feel like I'm like your boyfriend, but on steroids when it comes to the text communication. Because like Kelsey knows our work can be extremely like fast paced. So when I get into the office, that is the only thing I'm focusing on. So like I had to deal with her friend one time, and I would tell her like when I'm at work, I'm not going to sit and text you all day. Like I have a big responsibility. There's a lot going on, and I have to focus on this. When I get off work, you have my undivided attention, and she couldn't grasp that concept. And then it turned into, well, I don't feel like you're into me as much as I'm into you. And like she was really great at telling me how she felt. But like I've told you before regarding like the Pepe Le Pew, scenario, if I have someone I feel like is up my ass, like Pepe is with the cat, my automatic, fight or flight is to push them away.
Get away from it.
Because it's too much.
Overbearing. Yeah, it's way too much.
And there's some men that need their ego stroked so much that if you're not up their ass, they're not interested. And that was the case for Mr. P Pants.
Right.
Is, when we were first dating, I was very insecure from my divorce. It caused a lot of trauma, and I probably shouldn't have been dating. And I was kind of that give me your attention type of person.
Because you were craving it so much in a marriage that you weren't getting it.
Exactly. And so then when we, were like, this isn't working, and then he came back shortly after, apologized, I wasn't that way anymore.
Right.
I was like, if I hear from him, I hear from him. If I don't, I don't. I'm not putting all my eggs in this basket. And he was so done with it. Because he had been cheated on in his marriage. And I think he just needed that constant attention from multiple women of wanting to be wanted. And so the fact that I wasn't groveling and please give me your attention, he lost interest.
Do you think he lost interest because he had other women like giving him that type of attention? Because normally what happens is you will know if someone likes you a lot, because when you start to take attention away from them, they start chasing you more.
I don't think in this case, only because when we first started dating, he was straight with me. He said, I am talking to other people. It was never we were exclusively dating. He was always talking to other people.
Right.
But I was still in the fight. I was still constantly like, I'm still here. Give me your attention, And as soon as I no longer was doing that, it was easy for me to fall to the back.
So it's the squeaky wheel gets the attention.
Yes.
And so, man, there must be a lot of women out there like be pissed on. So that's weird.
It is weird. And I think about it now, and how many women is he pissed on? I wish there would be like a warning,
Well, they got the Facebook page, which you both are a part of.
We can't talk about it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Have you dated my ex or whatever?
It's like Fight Club.
I want to start
we don't talk
one
about Fight
that's
Club.
like, have you pissed on my ex? And see where that gets going.
It would probably go places because men have a pee problem, like we've established.
Yeah. Before I did my dirt and didn't hit record. I had couldn't get the cow out of the barn situation and had to leave the bar. But guys pissing, like that whole deal and like the deal you explained earlier with your ex-husband, that's not normal shit. That's really like...
I feel like it happens. So when I told you guys about my friend pissing in my dresser one night, so we had two guy friends sleep over that night, me and my roommate. So the next morning I sneak into her room where our other friend had slept, just as friends. They just slept in the bed together for
grab
some
a
reason.
soaking wet t-shirt.
So I start telling her, I'm like, he freaking pissed on my dresser last night. Like, and our other guy friend that's sleeping with her, he's like, oh my God, that's crazy. So she gets out of bed and then walks back in her bedroom and he's taking the sheets off her bed. He had pissed the bed. Oh, this was all in the same night. Two different people. I'm like, what happened?
Dude needs a diaper.
This must be a thing that I don't know about because I don't do that. I might shit, but I don't. No, I'm kidding. Not totally kidding.
You joke about it
Segue
enough. Is it a
into
joke?
shit.
No, because like shit jokes are funny no matter who you are, and if you can't laugh about like a fart joke or a shit joke, okay, you need to take or you're
way
taking
too
yourself.
fucking
You're uptight.
Yeah, like-
Everybody
Farts and
shit.
shitting is just hilarious to me.
I mean, it's just like people need to like calm down with that. Like it's funny, laugh about it, especially if you've done it. Like move on. But so the other story we brought up too was your friend and myself and the Tinder deal, and I won't go into a lot of details other than I respect the hell out of your friend for telling me like, hey, if I sleep with you tonight, I'm never talking to you again, and she lived up to it. Eventually moved on and got married, but the whole silver lining to that deal is don't go camping with a guy on the first date.
And his friends.
If they're swingers too, that's a little.
This wasn't first date, luckily.
No, but I'm just saying, like, don't put yourself in a position where you're gonna like weird shit.
Meet
can
in a
happen.
public place. Make sure your friends know where you are, what time you're going, what time you expect to be home. Share your location with somebody.
Yes.
It's way too scary out there.
It is. I'll tell you one of the scariest stories I've had was a girl that I met on Plenty of Fish, and her and I started talking, and I thought it was weird because, like, I'm not one to judge on age. For whatever reason, the universe loves to bring me 24 to 26-year-old women.
So children.
I don't partake because, like,
They're
26.
Babies.
I forget you're a baby, Jaden.
Oh, Jaden is the baby.
but like I don't partake because I would like at 38 want someone who has their shit together. Like if you're a fucking waitress at a bar, like no thank you. I'm not supporting your lifestyle. Now if you're, you have a career and you're doing something, okay, then I can alleviate that deal. But anyway, there was about a 5 or 6 year age gap in between her and I. And the online thing, you always have to go up with like caution. So we ended up scheduling a date. She's like, why don't you come pick me up? So I drove all the way out to West Valley in the ghetto, which was the first sign. I'm like, okay, this could be weird. And then there's I'm not knocking people from West Valley. This is an apartment complex on Redwood Road that is known for like gang violence, drug trafficking, like the whole nine. And so I pull up, I go knock on her door. She answers, and she is hammered.
First date.
First date. So then I go sit on her couch. Her kid comes running out, and it's like the circus begins. And I'm not a big fan of meeting someone and then meeting their kids on the same date. To me, you're
at
just...
what point do you just say like, hey, let's call a spade a spade?
I got a
and,
shit.
Like,
so
yeah,
I'm out.
I got a bellyache. I gotta go home.
So but I'm not that person, like through other really horrible experiences, I wasn't going to be the one that was like, okay, I'm out. So I stuck through
Not
it.
even to like reschedule, like, hey.
No, because I was just like, okay, I'm going to stick through it. So she finally got done getting ready. We hopped in my truck, and normally I'm the type that has like a
Did
plan.
the kid come with you,
No.
or was there a babysitter?
No, there was a babysitter. But I'm the type that has a plan. Like I know where I want to go to dinner. I know like the activity, the second activity if the chemistry is good. And then, like, so I'm good. Like, I plan all that. So then I was like, hey, let's go to dinner at this place. She's like, I'm going to be honest with you. I just broke up with my boyfriend. I'm not feeling like I want to eat anything. I just want to continue drinking. So I'm like, okay, red flag 2, ignored. So we went to the bar. We started drinking. She got even more hammered. So then we're getting done. I'm like, hey, I'll take you home. She's like, do you want to go home and cuddle? Okay, anyone who wants to go home and cuddle is let's go home and fuck. It's just how it is.
Right.
I've never come across a situation where if a girl tells me
It's the Netflix.
When
and
you're
chill.
not in a committed relationship.
if they want to cuddle, they want to fuck. So I was like, okay, sure, why not? Knowing I'm probably going to never talk to this girl again. So she's like, as we're driving, all of a sudden she starts crying. So crying on a date is a no-go, no matter who you are. So I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, do you know how to fight? And I'm like, excuse me? And she's like, do you know how to fight? And I said, I can protect myself. What are you talking about? Well, my boyfriend's is a gangbanger. He used to like beat me and choke me out, and I'm hoping that he's not at the apartment waiting for me, but there could be a chance he's there. I'm like, okay, what the fuck? So we go back to the apartment. Luckily, he wasn't there. I walk her up to the door, and then she grabs me, pulls me into her apartment, like literally throws me on the bed. And I don't know any other guy that could do this, but I cut it off right there. I'm like, I'm done. Most guys would have went and did it the whole 9. I'm like, I'm done. So I get up, walk out of the apartment, and as I'm walking away, here comes the cholo. And I'm like, what the fuck? So then I get back in my truck, and I'm watching him walk to the apartment, banging on the door. So had I went through with screwing this girl, chances are I'm probably dead. And so I got the fuck out. I'm like, I'm done. About a week later, she reaches out. She's like, hey, do you remember me? And I'm like, yep.
Yep. Sure.
She's
fucking
like,
do.
I am so sorry for how the date went. I would love to have a rain check. And I said, okay.
Oh, thank you.
I go, here's the deal, though.
Thanks, but no thanks.
No alcohol. You and I will just talk. We'll have dinner. We'll do this like the right way. She's like, okay. So we sit down, have dinner. One of the most boringest conversations I've ever had in my entire life. Now, mind you, since doing this podcast, I've had someone who you know and he knows here fucked up on Molly and was able to carry a 2.5-hour conversation. I couldn't carry a conversation with this girl. So she's like, let's go back to your place, watch a movie, which is also another let's go back and fuck. So we go back to the house. I sit down on the couch. She sits in the love seat, and we watched a movie, and it was the most boringest thing in my life. Like,
So just 2 separate places,
just total fucking waste of time. So after she left, I never talked to her again, but I was that close of getting my ass beat by a fucking gangbanger.
So what was it about her that was good enough to make you go on a second date? Because to me, that first one would have been like,
No.
I'm
fucking
out.
way.
Like, number blocked. No, thank you.
I'm starting to realize I'm probably a lot different than a lot of the guys that you guys meet, though. But so I have a one-track mind. When I focus on someone, I don't have 5 or 6 lined up. So at the time, I just had this one lined up and no other, not interested in anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I'll forgive you on the first one. Maybe there's something there.
What do you have to lose?
Right. Other than the price of fucking alcohol and dinner, which I don't care. It's nothing.
Even with how shitty the first one went.
Yeah, because I felt like that wasn't the best representation of her. And I didn't want to be the sleazeball that took advantage of a drunk girl, let alone get my ass kicked by a gangbanger. So in a different scenario, maybe things were different and they were a lot worse. So I'm okay going through that. But yeah, like that one was probably one of the more crazier ones I've had where I felt like my life was in danger. And then, I mean, I have a million more, but you guys go ahead. What else you got in the old pipeline? Let's talk about your ghosting one.
Oh,
and then how you ran into him.
Oh.
But why do men ghost? I guess women probably do it too, right?
I've been ghosted by the
Have
same
you?
woman twice. Back-to-back days.
But like, how hard is it to just be like, I'm just not really interested or anything?
Because
Because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings,
no,
or you don't.
because as a guy, I would tell you like men are more, I don't know how to put this, shady than women in general.
Yeah.
And so if you are online, and like all online dating is just window shopping.
Yeah.
It's your best pictures or your best representation of yourself. No matter if you're a good person or a piece of shit, it's just window shopping. Like for me, like I know I'm a good person. I look like a retard online. I cannot take a good picture. So I'm already behind the 8 ball. So when I have to, like when I was doing it and like trying to like talk to women, most of the time, like I'm striking out because I look like I have cerebral palsy in a fucking picture. But I also know that like my pictures are not the best representation of myself. So when I started to like learn how to do the dating game in person and then do like the text message thing, I had way more success in person than I ever did online. And like it helped me develop the confidence needed to talk to anyone at any time, which I still have today. But men in general are just shitty. They're lazy. They don't want to put forth the time because they know as like society progresses, we keep going down the shitter with how relationships go. So nowadays, there's men out there that expect if they meet someone, whether in person or online, if they take you out to dinner and buy you dinner, they automatically get to sleep with you. How many first dates have you been on where that the guy has actually tried to sleep with you?
I don't think any.
None?
No. But my dating.
She's a fucking unicorn.
Maybe Hooper is a different breed of animal.
Yeah.
My
Salt Lake's
dating
different.
history is pretty small because, like I said, I married someone from high school.
Okay.
We were kind of on and off. And so there was like little tidbits in between when I was late teens, early 20s that I dated other people.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't start dating again until I was 30 after my divorce. And so I haven't, and now I've been with the same guy for 2.5 years. So I had very little
Interaction.
interaction. And
So-
I make my intentions clear. Like,
I'm not going to sleep with you.
I am not this kind of person.
Okay. I've been told that before and actually done it. Anyway, how many guys have you talked to before you got in your relationship that have tried to sleep with you on the first date? Couple.
Yeah, a couple.
Okay. So I feel like we'll go like because we're getting off topic from like the story stuff, which is fine.
Yeah.
We can
She
just
needs to talk about ghosting.
Yes, okay.
go ahead. Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll go into like
So do you want to ask me the question again and we'll go from there?
yes, talk about the ghoster and how you ran into him after the whole thing and how fucking irate you were because you and I had many conversations on it.
Oh, okay. So, again, I was divorced 5 years at the time. Had broken up with somebody that had been in what I thought was a monogamous, committed relationship.
So you got cheated on.
Turned out to be total fucking shit. And then probably 6 months, 5-6 months after we broke up, I thought, well, let's see what the dating scene has to offer for me.
Let's jump back on the horse.
Let's see. I was terrified, to be honest. Like, after dating somebody for the most part, like it was simultaneous. Like, I mean, we'd have a couple breakups here and there, but that breakup and the stuff that had happened during that relationship relationship, like, screwed me up. I used to be a very, very trusting person. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I'll give you 1,000 chances. I see everybody for, like, their true worth. I've always believed that, like, you show people who you truly are with people you trust, and then you kind of put on that show for people that, like, you're putting that barrier up for, that you, like, you have some sort of protection up. And so the same thing went for, like, my ex-husband and then my ex. And so coming out of that relationship, I mean, he had cheated on me, lied to me, put me through the ringer, like, pretty much broke me. And so coming out of that, a friend of mine was like, you know what, the best thing for you right now would just be, just get in the dating scene and take your mind off of it.
Is this your neighbor?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll talk about her too.
And so I was like, nope, I don't trust anybody. I have kids. Like, I know men. I know that they only want one thing. I don't trust them around my kids. Like, what if, knowing my luck, I'm going to get the fucking Craigslist killer or something, or I'm going to get some fucking pervert. And I was just like, nope, I'll just do my own thing. Like, I wasn't looking for a daddy. I wasn't looking for someone to come in and, like, sweep me off my feet, rescue me, anything like that. Like, take care of me. Like, I take care of myself. My Jeep's paid off. I pay my mortgage. Like, I can take care of myself.
Self-sufficient.
I'm very self-sufficient. I don't need somebody. It was the fact that, like, the idea of, like, oh, I would like to have someone to kind of share my time with when my kids weren't around.
Mm-hmm.
And if it worked out, like, sure, we can incorporate you and share your and my time with my kids. But at the same time, I was like, I don't fucking trust anybody. Like, after that whole episode, I was just like, he was a chameleon, total fucking chameleon. And so I was traumatized. Anyway, so when I finally agreed to it, I was like, all right, like, we'll try the online dating. And I believe I started with Hinge. Kind of backtrack a while. Right after I got divorced, I tried, maybe it was eHarmony or something. I tried some dating thing, and I was so overwhelmed with all of these
Gargoyles.
yes, just these creeps and
Reese, just, you're so beautiful.
Oh, I got the most cringeworthy messages from people like, your beauty, your eyes, I can't stop thinking about you. And granted, I hadn't even responded to these people. Like, these were like their initial messages to me. Like, I have dreams about you. You're so beautiful. Like, your eyes, you have bedroom eyes, this and this. And I'm just like,
who are you?
what the fuck is happening here? Like, I was so
Does
overwhelmed.
that work for anybody? Because it never worked for me. I'd instantly, like, block. No, thank you.
And granted, kind of like what you were saying was like, however, with online dating, and now I realize this now, is, I mean, that's your best day in court. Like, you put it all out there, and whoever takes the bait, like, okay, let's see who's the winner.
The wiener.
But it was just cringeworthy. So that experience and the messages that I would get from people, I was just totally turned off by online dating. I just thought, like, you know, I don't need to date. I'm fine with my kids.
But someone came along that caught your attention.
But yeah, so
along came a spider.
Along came the spider. So I took my friend's word for it, and I was like, all right, let's see how this goes. The first few times talking to people was like total crash and burns. And so we both worked from home. So she would come over, work from home, and we'd just be sitting there working. And I'd be like, oh, I got a message from this person. And I'd tell her what we were talking about. And she's like, this online dating thing. And I'm like, I haven't done it. Like, I've never done online dating. I've literally been in long-term monogamous relationships since high school, before high school.
Since the beginning of time.
Since the beginning.
I'm terrible at it too. My first instinct is to insult somebody. Like in a joking way, because that's like my communication is, Sean, like that's all we do is banter and bullshit and insult each other.
See, and I am not.
And that's my initial thing is like, how can I insult him and make it a joke? Because I'm not good at being vulnerable and having deep conversations all the time. And so mine is joking. And so many people get so offended. And I'm like, I don't know how else to talk to people.
See, and mine was like, I can't do that. I can't, like, he can come up with shit, and I'm like, I want to be that funny. And so
she's just as good as I am.
I'm telling my son, and I'm like, because he's funny. He's the same way. Like, he can just spout shit off. And I'm like, I want to be that funny. And his response is, Mom, you can't teach funny.
It comes natural.
I
think I had that in my Tinder profile was like, chances are I'm funnier than you.
Yeah.
It was like a challenge. Like, prove me wrong.
Right.
That's what I wish. I wish I was funnier. I'm learning. But so I had no idea how to talk to people. I had no idea like how to keep the conversation going because I was so used to somebody coming in and just kind of like bullying me over and just like word vomiting all of this, love bombing me with all of this shit. Like that's what I was used to. And it was just like, okay. But then after learning that, all of the comments I would get and from the last previous relationships, I learned like bullshit. Like you are just filling me full of bullshit. So then I developed this like anti-accepting compliments from people. So people would
makes you feel gross.
Yes, like or
cheap.
I would just
like
think,
how many other people did you say that
in
to?
my pants? Like you're not being like genuinely complimenting me like, oh, you're a great mom, or oh, you have a great smile, you have great hair, whatever. And it was
I love your ambition.
So from a guy's standpoint, I will tell you the easiest thing to do on online dating is the shotgun approach. They're going to send the same messages over and over and over again to multiple women to see who bites the bait. That's normal.
Yes.
Because at its core, no one is ever truly original.
Right.
And if you even try to be original, most people are going to fumble out of the gate
and
look stupid, and you've already lost your chance anyway. So anyway,
and I've heard that from that page is you'll see people that are like, oh, I got the same message from.
He sent me screenshots. He sent me the same exact thing.
Same thing.
Oh, he sent you guys that when he was with me last night.
Yeah, it's hilarious. But so I had no idea what I was doing. Nothing. I'm by no means an expert on dating. I have just learned as I've gone on. But so the first few I would talk to my friend, and she was just like, no. Okay. The next time he responds, this is what you need to say. So then, and for me, I'm like, oh, that is so bold. Like that is just.
But after your story, I will dissect your friend on the false bravado that she fronts. I'll go into that though too, because. And
I think there's
there is a happy medium.
Yeah, there's a happy medium to it, and I think you just have to learn that. But like for her, I'm grateful for it because it got me out of my comfort zone because I was so stuck in this insecure, like, nope, I'm traumatized from what he did to me. I'm traumatized from what happened with my ex-husband. Like, and I built up this wall of, if you're the first comment you give to me, you're full of shit. You just want to sleep with me. Fuck off. I want nothing to do with you. And so as we went along, she was just kind of helping coach me like, well, just kind of say this, just this little bit of flirting thing. And so we went with my comfort zone, and I ended up talking to this one guy, and we talked back and forth for a week or two, and like from what I thought, we had great chemistry. Like, and when I say chemistry, meaning like we never talked on the phone. It was all through text message. So red flag 1. And knowing now what I know, always talk to someone on the phone first. Talk to them, even if it's FaceTime, on the phone, something. Because things that you talk about through text, things can be misconstrued, the tone of it, you never know what it is. But so this one person that we ended up kind of having a good flow with for a few weeks, we ended up like picking a weekend, and it kind of before that turned from like the getting to know each other, then it turned into like the hot and heavy texting, right? Which it always turns into. So then it turned into I just can't wait until next weekend. Is there any way that like I can see you this weekend? So for me, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm interested. You're interested. We've kind of built up this chemistry and
anticipation.
And yeah, I want to see what this is all about. This is new to me. This is exciting. It's intriguing. It's new. Like, let's see what you have to offer. So ended up agreeing to a date, and his thing, I think about it now and I'm just like, ugh. He was like, well, how about you meet me at my house, and then from there I'll drive. We'll go up and we'll go to the restaurant. We'll have dinner. That way, if you decide that you more or less want to stay, you don't have to go anywhere.
Red flag 1.
Red flag 2. And I'm like, all right, yeah, that sounds good. And so I tell my mom and my sister, and they're like, no, you're not doing this. And I'm like, it's fine. I'll be fine. I'm an adult. I know what I'm doing. I know I can say no. I know if I get into a precarious situation that I can say, like, I'm not comfortable with this. I want to go home, blah, blah, blah.
You could always drop I'm on my period.
Yes.
Oh, I actually shit my pants after dinner. That Mexican food did not sit well.
Yep.
Yeah,
they won't want to touch it.
Refried beans will get you every time.
Funny. So we'll segue to that. Okay. So I meet him at his house. He's standing outside talking to his neighbor. And as we walk up, like just to kind of break the ice, because again, we'd never seen each other in person. And like my response was like, oh, I'm so glad that you're tall, that I can wear tall shoes with you. And you could tell that he like had gone in for like the hug and kiss. And I just kind of did the side thing, like
The Matrix.
Yeah, like
the awkward. He ends up kissing your ear.
Yeah.
And he's like, well,
or pulls a Biden, smells your hair. Intoxicating.
So he's like, are you ready to go? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, I've got a reservation. He's like, let's go inside and he's like, I just got to go get my wallet and keys. He's like, do you want to come inside real quick? And I was like, yeah, sure. Because I didn't want to be sitting outside with this random janky neighbor just sitting outside. So I go inside with him, and this should have been the other third red flag, which was a third red flag. Walk in, and
he's like, Vondersex, and starts tying you up.
No, so like I walk in, like he was in a basement apartment, and
oh, he took you to the dungeon.
well, he lived in a basement apartment.
I'm
So
joking.
I walk down there, and he's like, well, this is like blah blah blah. He was a big athlete, like he does like weightlifting, tons of like marathons and stuff. Like
he's in shape.
He was in, yeah. And it was very intriguing for me because I mean, I'm a runner. I do races and stuff like that. So, I mean, it was something that I was interested in. And so that was one thing that caught my attention with him. So I was like, oh, it was interesting. And then I get into his house, and it's like
Vondersex.
it was like he's got like 5 road bikes lined up there. And I'm like, oh, you've got a lot
I
of.
think he is fucking Lance Armstrong.
I'm like, you got a lot of.
I only have one
You
testicle.
got a lot of.
Una Cajone.
I never saw, but I'm like, wow, you got a lot of bikes there. And he's like, yeah. And again, this was just like the entryway where like the laundry and stuff was. So then we like segue into his apartment, and it was like 3 more bikes. And then as I'm looking around, there's shoes just lined up.
So he's a neat freak.
Not just like neat freak, but it was like he had shoes lined up on top of shoes lined up on top of shoes lined up along every wall in his house. Okay. And so I'm like looking.
Did he offer you any lotion?
Puts the lotion on the
Lotion
skin.
on skin. No, but I'm like just kind of like looking around like there's a lot of shit in here. And I'm like, look, he's got a fireplace and there's like all of these pocket knives. And then there's a bunch of pocket knives and shit on his
What's he, a fucking pawn shop?
he like likes knives, I guess. And
Weird. Okay.
He's
so
obsessive.
as I'm like,
That's when you pull the ejection cord.
well, for me, I was just bewildered. I was just like, this is so weird. And I'm just like looking around, and as he grabs his stuff, he like comes up and he gives me a hug. And I'm just like
Oh, he made the move.
still looking around like,
what else you got back there?
there's so much shit in this house. Like, and it's not a large apartment, like not a large open apartment. I mean, and so we just hugged. We didn't kiss or anything like that. And he was just like, are you ready to go? And I'm like, yeah. So as we're walking out, I'm like looking, I'm like,
You want to ride a bike there? I got an extra.
Can you imagine ringing his doorbell and it's all, bicycle, bicycle.
I
want
like to
to
ride my bicycle. Yeah, so anyway, so we go to dinner, and it was fine. Like, driving up, we went to Park City. We went to a restaurant up in Park City, and
Wait, he drove from, does he live in the city?
so it was like Cottonwood area.
And he took you to Park City for the first date.
So like where he lived was like the opening of that
Yeah.
canyon up there. So
Okay.
I mean, really, it was like a 10-minute drive to the restaurant we went to.
Okay.
It
This
was
just seems really extreme, but okay.
But I remember sitting in his car and just thinking the whole time, like, again, this is May, okay? No air on. Like, no vent, no windows down, nothing. And I just remember sitting there thinking, like, it is so fucking hot in this car. Why don't you have the air on? Why? And that's all I could think about. But I didn't say anything. But so he was telling me about, like his employment stuff, because it was kind of interesting. He had worked for a lot of gyms and like managed gyms. He worked at the very precarious Jim Jones, where it's like this elite gym, like invitation only, like they train actors
Okay.
and stuff like that. So like
So
one,
like Vin Diesel's there.
yeah, like he they trained Gal Gadot for the Wonder Woman. And so he was just telling me these stories, and the whole time I'm just sitting there just like, why is the fucking air not on? Like, this is so bizarre.
At any point, did you think it was moist?
It's a little moist in here, and then he just sniffs you.
The worst word ever.
You're not at temperature yet.
Touches your skin to see if you're dripping.
Yeah.
with sweat.
You think this is bad.
Yeah.
Wait till later.
Yeah. And so like up until this point, like he kept saying like, when we get to the restaurant, I'm going to say like, this is me and my wife. And he would say just like kind of odd things like that. So we get to the restaurant. And so for me, it was like, I was just trying to kind of play it off like casual, cool, like try to
Go with the
be
flow.
comfortable with this person. Like, we had a little bit of a wait when we got there. And so we're just sitting outside, like waiting for our table. We didn't even really talk. And
You're cooling off in May outside because his car was so hot.
I'm just like,
Red
Slips
flag.
you a fake ring to put on your finger.
Yeah.
Go with it.
I'm like, okay. And what's
It's
funny
fake
was
and
like
leaves that ring on your.
the green,
Yeah.
the green.
Because
Yeah.
you're sweating from the car, right?
He just drops you like a CTR ring. He's like, you got it, girl.
So, like, and what's funny was, like, I half expected him when he was telling the host, like, this is
Did
me
he call
and my
you
wife.
precious at any time as he's slipping you the ring?
No, so we get to our table, and anyway, we're having dinner or whatnot. He gets up and he's like, he has to go to the bathroom, and so like he leaves, but then it's like he comes back and he's like, hold on, I have to do this. So then he like goes in for a kiss. So like we kiss and he's like, okay, and then he leaves.
That'll
and I'm just
do.
like, that was very okay. That was weird. So then he comes back, and by then, I think we had been done with dinner at that point, and so we were just like having drinks. And in Park City, everything closes at 9, so we'd basically like closed down the restaurant. We'd only been there maybe like an hour and a half,
Like 15 minutes.
and
Enough for your Caesar salad, and then you got to go.
yeah, or tacos. And so then, as he's sitting there, I can tell he's like just like he just starts profusely like sweating.
The beans hit him.
I'm just like, "You okay over there?" And he's just like, all right, are you ready to go? You ready to go? And I'm like, yeah. And I just thought like, well, maybe he's just hot or whatever. Like,
He's like, are you ready to fuck?
and like, but I mean, he is just like profusely sweating.
Thank God he's
like,
going to turn the air on the way back.
Right.
And that's what I was thinking. Like, well, God, maybe now we'll get some fucking air on the way home. And so he is like racing down the mountain. Okay. Didn't even think twice about it. And,
In his Toyota Sentra, shaking like crazy. Death rattle.
I can't even remember what it was.
Repositioning himself.
Yeah.
And so we get back to his house, and he's like,
He's got a brown bear playing peekaboo. He's really choking off.
so he's, so we get back to his house, and he's like, do you want a drink? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So, as he's like walking me through his house, then it becomes more apparent, all of this shit. So it's like we're walking through the front room. He's got like one of those closets in his front room, right? And the first thing I noticed is he had more coats in that closet than like me and my 3 kids have combined. And I'm just thinking like, that's a lot of fucking coats. And then I look down, and I'm not shitting you when I say the shoes were piled to here. But they were like perfectly lined. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I've got to ask, what is with all of the shoes? And I mean, and they were all brand. It's not like these were old, like hoarding type shit. These were all like brand new, like really nice shoes, like Nikes and brand new shit. And I'm like, so what is, you got to tell me what this is about. And he just says he's got this thing with nice shoes. He would buy a pair. And he's like, all of these I've probably maybe worn once. He's like, and I probably might not ever wear them again. And I'm like, well, why do you keep them?
Why do you keep buying more?
Yeah. But they were still just lined up everywhere. So I'm like, all right. So then we go down the hall, and he's got like, it was really cool. He's got these like skateboard decks like hung up in his hall. And he was telling me the story about him, that he really likes the artist who
Paints
them. Yeah. And I mean, that was really cool. And so then we get into his kitchen, and then in his kitchen, he's got like this little pantry that's just lined with
more shoes.
Whiskey bottles.
Not more shoes though.
Hundreds of whiskey bottles. Some were empty, some were completely full. And he's like, here, do you want to try this one? Do you want to try this? Blah, blah, blah. So anyways, he pours me a little glass of whiskey, and he's telling me all about his little, he's like this whiskey connoisseur.
Oh my God.
And he's telling me about that. And the whole time I'm just like,
those guys are worse than the IPA dudes.
just like, this is so fucking odd. But again, I'm like, all right.
Is this one a little bit more smoky?
So the one he gave me was like, he gave me a taste of one that was like super smoky. And my first response was like, it tastes like I'm drinking campfire.
He's like, this one was made in Germany with Anne Frank.
Hitler's ashes.
Those guys fucking like are so stupid.
it was bizarre.
All whiskey tastes the same to me. I'm not a whiskey connoisseur by any means.
It's a show.
I'm a tequila drinker,
but
but they all whiskey tastes the same to me.
But it's a show. He's not really a whiskey connoisseur. He's putting on a show for you because like unless you are working in a distillery and you own it and like you really really get into the nuts and bolts of like the ingredients and everything, you're just a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what besides that he just said he liked it. So he pours a drink and he's like, "Do you want to watch a movie?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So we go sit down, we're sitting on the couch and he turns on and it's
Harry Potter on shrooms.
But it's completely ruined it for me now, which is unfortunate because I haven't seen all of the movies. He turns on the first John Wick. And I'm like, "Oh, I haven't seen this." So yeah, I want to watch it. So we're sitting there and I'm a total metal chick and the Marilyn Manson song comes on. So like I just was like moving my leg to it and he's like, "Oh, obviously you like Marilyn Manson." And I'm like, "I do. I like this."
He's like, "I met him at Lollapalooza in '92."
I'm like, whiskey. I do. I like Marilyn Manson. He's like, "I could tell because you were like moving your leg to it." And I'm just like, "All right, whatever."
He's like, "That's hot."
And I still, the whiskey drink is still sitting there because for whatever reason, I'm like, I don't want to get too drunk because
I got to get the hell out of here.
At some point, I'm
going to roofie you.
Yeah.
It's going to make my face into a lampshade.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure I watched him pour the drink, but who knows if the glass is laced? Like, I don't know. This is all fucking new to me.
At this point, like if he came out butt naked, like Silence of the Lambs with a mangina, like this would not shock me at this point. Like this dude is fucking weird.
I thought we had maxed at the weird part after seeing like all the shit in his, and he was showing me all the knives.
So
and
what's
stuff.
the weirdest part now?
Okay, so then we're sitting there and he pauses it and he just turns to me and he like starts kissing me again and he does his okay, and he plays the movie again and I'm just like, this is so fucking bizarre. And so then we're sitting there and he's like, "I'm sorry, I have to excuse myself for a minute. That food just isn't sitting very well with me." And I'm like, okay. So he goes in to the bathroom and I mean, no shame. Just
You can hear it.
Oh yeah. Just is letting loose. And I'm just like, and you can hear the grunting.
Does he have Crohn's?
I don't know. But what was weird was like at dinner, he was like taking pills at dinner. Like after dinner.
He's got Crohn's. He's got to have Crohn's.
You think you would lead with that though?
Yeah.
Like, hey.
Be open about it. Like, hey, I'm inviting you back to my house after Mexican food. I'm gonna shit myself. Like, just so you know.
Yeah.
Or he's like, "These are my Crohn's pills. Watch this cool trick." And he just starts throwing them up the air and eating them. Like,
But I remember him like as he's talking to me at dinner and he just like whips these pills out and I remember like, cause I was saying something and I'm like,
you should have said like, "Are you going to share?"
and I'm watching him take these pills
stuff.
and I'm just like, and so I'm like continuing my story and he just acts like it's just no big deal, like nothing, no problem. So anyways, he's in there shitting himself in the bathroom. So I'm just sitting there like, right on, this is great. Like,
You're like,
turn the movie up a little
flag.
bit.
you're like, "I'm going to fucking peg you tonight."
or yeah, like no way shit's happening after that.
Literally.
So he comes back and then that was afterwards when he had paused the movie and like had kissed me and I'm like, this is weird. So anyways, so we finished the movie. During the movie, because my mom and my sister both have my location, I'm getting messages from both of them of, "We don't stay at people's houses that we just meet. Like, you need to leave." So I'm laughing because my mom and my sister are both like,
Group texting you.
like watching my location, messaging me during this first date. And I'm just like, shut up. And so then he turns another movie on and
You went through one whole movie?
Yeah.
Emily, you should have like just got up and walked out.
So
during
I was,
shitting.
so tired.
I was ready to go after the movie, okay? Because the shitting incident like totally weirded me out. Like, and I'm the type like
Benefit of the doubt.
I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, but also like if I'm not feeling well, like I'm not gonna stick around for that by any means. I will be like, had a great time. I gotta go.
I have to get up early.
Yeah, like I got shit to do,
So at
and
what
I'll
point-
go shit my brains out at home
So
in
what-
the comfort of my own
So
home.
at what point did you actually leave?
Okay, so it keeps going. So, so he's like, we go in his room, and it gets worse. The shit is just lined up in his room. He's got piles of clothes, but folded neatly, like in every corner of his room. He's got the shoes piled up. His closet is full. He's got a bunch of all of his awards and stuff, all of his knives. Then he pulls out like his favorite gun and everything.
Oh wow!
I mean, it
So
is.
he's got
just-
knives and guns.
it
He's
is just,
showing.
like piling on the weirdness, and like he just keeps showing me this stuff, and I'm just sitting there like,
you do understand as he's leading you to his room what the real expectation is, right?
yeah. And
Okay.
I kind of knew, but at the same time, I was like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's fine. Like at some, like I kind of wanted it to happen, but at the same time, I was like, I don't.
So he pretty much had you at first grunt.
At first, okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyway, long story short, we end up
Going at it.
going out, but at this before I'm like, okay, I need to go to the bathroom really quick. So I go to the bathroom and I'm like, do I really want to do this? Like, this is kind of weird. Like, everything else was like pristine. Like, his bathroom was pristine, super clean. Like, surprisingly enough, like for all the shit he had in his house, like it was very well
So
put
he's
together,
he's
like
OCD.
clean. Yeah. But I could not get it out of my head, and so I kept commenting on like, you're a total fucking hoarder. And he's just like, no, I just can't get rid of anything. And I'm like, no, you're a hoarder.
That's
like,
called a hoarder.
like,
By
this is
definition.
like, you're a hoarder. Like, this is, and I could like I could not get out of that mindset. Like, you're a fucking hoarder. So like we would start kissing, and I'm just like,
Your shoes are gonna fall on me.
this is so weird. So anyways, long story short, we end up having sex, like, but it was like he couldn't finish. So I was like, all right, I'm done. Like, it's gone on long enough.
It was those pills he took at dinner.
For sure.
So I think either if he didn't think dinner was going well, like that was his out. I'm convinced that like he took those pills like to make him sick, like to make him shit.
At this point, you could literally throw like shit at the wall to see what sticks, because it could have been a plethora of shit during this entire crazy ass story that would have tried to get him out of it. But I don't think he was quite out of it, because he kept trying to
Like
get
continue
to the end
yeah.
goal.
Let's watch a movie. Let's go to the
Yeah,
bedroom.
let's
Right.
see how this goes.
He's
And-
like, let's watch Lord of the Rings, 12 hours.
yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, so
My precious.
we get done, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna go now. Because I was weirded out by the shit thing. I was weirded out by all the stuff in his house.
But did he talk to you after this?
Yeah. So
Okay.
it went on like weeks after this.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna go. But I mean, like, we had like hung out afterwards, talked,
Had a whiskey.
cuddled, like didn't drink or anything after, because I'm like, I knew I needed to drive home. I had drank at dinner, had a drink at his house. I knew I needed to drive home. There was no way gonna fucking stay there. So he walks me outside, walks me to my Jeep, and like I'm saying goodbye, and he's telling me about like his weird neighbors and everything, and
His weird neighbors.
and then all of a sudden he's like, I'm sorry, I gotta go back, and my stomach is
He's got
making me
Crohn's.
sick again.
That's what that has to be it.
And like that was his excuse for why like he couldn't complete, and I was just
He was
like,
too worried about clenching his asshole.
the whole
not
fucking
show
time. Yeah, I'm just like, all right, well, whatever. So I leave, and I mean, and he was super like attentive after, like he would text me after, like we had had a couple phone calls after.
But he ghosted you at some point, though, right?
So, and this is like weeks later. Okay?
Right.
This is what was so bizarre was that it seemed like things were going good. Like we had made plans to hang out. And then he ended up canceling the plans, and I was like, all right, that's fine. No big deal. Like shit comes up. I understand that. Like my plans had changed. I had canceled a couple times. And the one weekend that we were supposed to hang out, he was like, yep, I'll be there. And
Never showed.
Never showed. And so finally I just was like, okay, this is now like 3 or 4 or 5 times now that like you've canceled, but you keep saying like, no, I'm interested. Like, I really like you. I think that we could have a good thing going. Like, you're perfect. Like, you're everything that I've ever wanted. And it's like you were made in a factory for me.
Gaslighting.
Like
Gaslighted you.
You're perfect. And I was like, okay, well, I didn't expect you to say those things. It was just more like, are you still interested? Because plans kept changing. And he was like, nope, you're perfect, blah, blah, blah. And then it was Father's Day weekend. And, like, he was going to visit his family. We'd been texting all day. And he was like, oh, I'm going to go hang out with my family. Whatever. Have a good day. Never heard from him after that.
But then you ran into him.
So, but what was weird was, like, he had friended me on, like, social media. So he was still, like, interacting with my stuff, like, watching my
Liking
stories,
your shit.
liking my stuff, commenting. He would send me, like, memes or reels or whatever. Like, so he was still, like, talking to me.
But
but
no
like,
separate communication, no text messages.
Like, the texting had completely stopped. And so I was just like, okay, that's fine. Like, all is fine. And then it all just stopped. And then he unfollowed me. So I'm just like, all right, well, that sucks. Like,
But then you ended up going to a rodeo.
but so in the meantime, I was just like, this is so chicken shit. Like, if you can't just tell someone like, hey, I was interested. I really enjoyed this time together, but this just isn't working for me. Like, whatever the reasoning is. Like, for me, I think it says a lot more about the person who ghosted you than me, myself. But at the time, I was like, what the fuck did I do? So anyway, went to a rodeo with my friend and had it completely out of my mind. Was like, okay, whatever, on to the next, blah, blah, blah. Kind of had stopped the online dating thing for a while because I was like, that kind of sucks. Like, first real dating and that happens. Like, that's kind of fucking shitty. So we're at the rodeo and we're going and getting a beer, and I heard the laugh. And I knew exactly who it was before I'd even looked. And I just looked at my friend and I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. And she's like, what? And I looked over and like the rows, like, so you know how like when you're getting a beer, like they have a couple different rows. So like we were at the end one and then they had a corner one. And there he fucking is standing there with a different girl. And like we literally made eye contact and he's laughing. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he just, like, went, like, blank. And, like, we just had, like, this, I don't know, 30-second just stare at each other, like, are you fucking kidding me? And I just looked at my friend, and I said, that's the ghoster. She's like, no fucking way. Like, she was freaking out, too. And I'm like, don't look, but we need to walk away right now. Like, we need to walk away because... Like, I was angry, I was pissed, I was sad, like I had this whole fuel of emotions happen. And so we walk away, and the whole rest of the night, I'm like, I'm sorry, but I want to go. Like, it was
Ruined it.
It ruined it. It completely ruined it because it had just brought back that flood of feelings of just how shitty it made me feel.
But just remember, though, he's not doing it to just you. He's doing it to someone else.
Yeah.
But you, like everything you've described in this story, though, I don't think there's anything you did wrong besides blindly following him into like the room and stuff. But that dude's a fucking weirdo. Like badly.
Oh, for sure.
Like
Yeah.
you dodged a bullet there.
I absolutely agree. I think I did too. And I know I did, in fact. But it was just that whole night and then just sitting there. And then it was like karma. Anytime like we would leave our seats to go, like, because she had some friends there that we wanted to go see, or I had some friends there we wanted to go see. And so anytime like we would leave our seats either to go to the bathroom or to go get something to eat or to go look at the little concession stand stuff, he was right fucking there. So it was like we had run into each other multiple times, and every time it was just like, I just want to fucking leave. This is so fucking awkward. And I got home that night, and of course, after like the fuel of drinking,
You texted him, didn't you?
I didn't text him. I did not.
Did you call him?
No. My friend Corey, my best friend Corey in California, had called me or text me, and I was just like, dude, guess what? I ran into the ghoster. And oddly enough, like it upset me enough to like it made me cry, because I just thought like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get the whole fucking ghosting thing. Like I've done it. I've done it, but I've done it in a way that it's not like I had been leading somebody on that I wanted to date them, and that like there was this prospect of us having a relationship together. It was just more like we had been talking, and it was just like things just fell flat, and it was
Just
just
a
like,
gradual recession.
But here's the fucked up thing, and a lot of guys don't realize this, is when you are dating someone, whether you sleep with them on the first date, second date, whatever your number is, when you sleep with a girl, like you are activating deep emotions.
It's totally different for a guy than it is a girl.
100%.
Yeah.
And so
And at our age, being married, divorced, having kids, we have trauma. We have
Oh, yeah.
insecurities.
Yeah.
right.
And so even like I got ghosted by that 31-year-old that ended up dating an 18-year-old.
Right.
And even I had not even met him. We had just talked for a few weeks, but you start analyzing yourself because you already have these insecurities.
Right.
And you're like, okay, maybe this selfie that he asked me for wasn't cute enough. Maybe, I didn't say the right thing, because we have these insecurities already.
Yeah.
And then to not even have the nerve to say, hey, you know what? Like, I'm just more interested
This
in
is
somebody
what
else. Or,
changed. Yeah.
yeah, like just have the courtesy to say something, because especially, like I said, at our age, and we've been through shit, like it's going to trigger something else in us.
But it's hard though, and maybe it's not hard for women, but it's harder on men to admit when they're at fault and to apologize.
Oh, 100%.
Like, how many people do we work with who are some of the most egotistical people, and when like they know they've done wrong, they still continue to deflect and deny,
right,
until it's like too late. Like we kind of experienced that on Friday.
Yeah.
And like as a guy, this is kind of why I stopped doing dating altogether. Like I know my self-worth. I know what I bring to the table. But everything like I taught you, like with the text message stuff, was things that I had learned after a failed relationship that totally changed my life. But the information that I had read and studied and started using to where I started to make the material work for me, I got to a point where I was maliciously using it to get what I want out of relationships. And so it dawned on me later on in life where I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore, because I know I've hurt many different women doing it. Now, I haven't gone on and like tried to find these women and apologize to them for what I've done, but I almost feel like I had to take myself out of this arena to correct this kind of behavior to where I was able to use the information that I had learned for the better, because it was actually someone I wanted to be with and not someone I wanted to sleep with. And I feel like with men, you know, like especially with online dating, like there are some really good looking dudes out there. But these are also the guys that are all, you know, usually pretty successful with women and know the game and use it against them because they're not really serious about it.
And don't ever have a second thought.
Right.
Yeah.
And unless there's like a boundary set in the beginning, which is not always set in stone, of just being like a friends with benefits situation, you know, they lie and they manipulate to either force that kind of relationship or to be like a narcissist and make you think like they can't live, like that girl can't live without the guy, or, you know, or they actually do the friends with benefits deal. But there's something I had learned along the way was it doesn't matter if it's a friends with benefits situation. If you continue to fuck a woman over and over and over again, at some point she will develop feelings for you.
Yeah.
And I lived through that with multiple different women. And for me, I knew what the relationship was, and I couldn't offer them more. So like I had to pull myself out of the whole dating thing. Every once in a while, like I'll jump online. I'll re-download Plenty of Fish. I'll see what's out there. I'll have talks with women, but it's like I can't, like my personal issue is I can't find anyone that just really super interests me. It's not about the physical thing at 38 anymore. It's about being able to have like an intellectual conversation, having things in common, them having a career where I don't have to support them. But it's almost like kind of like what you have now. Like to me, you have the most ideal situation. You have two people that like each other, potentially love each other, and you have your life and he has his life, and you're trying to walk the tightrope of kind of intermingling everything. But at the end of the day, you have a very healthy deal. Like, you know, like you're not going to go do a bunch of stuff with him and his friends, and you're not going to invite him out with a bunch of you and your girlfriends, you know? So like for me, it's like I'm a big time golfer. I would love to date a girl who is a golfer as well, but I don't want this girl to go with me when I'm golfing with my friends, you know? Like you have to be able to like come together with two separate lives to make it work. And I feel like whether it's online or in regular life, most people are so in a rush to get into a relationship that you make so many fucking mistakes. And you also put your faith or fall for someone that isn't right for you. And the next thing you know, you start having kids, and now the kids are traumatized by it. And it's like, it's such a fucked up deal. And in the moment when it's happening, it feels right. But how many times have you guys dated someone, or just like your ghosting story, where you overlooked so many fucking red flags because you wanted to see the best in someone, and you know, looking back on, you're like, okay, I just dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine if that dude knocked you up.
Oh my God, that would be devastating. Well, and it kind
shit
of goes
happens,
back
though.
to, like I was saying, with like maintaining your autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
Is that's one thing that I, starting with dating, I never really held an importance to. It wasn't until my current relationship that realizing how important that is, because this is two very different people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've explained this to my girls when they would ask me, like, why did you and dad get divorced? Well, these are two completely different people. They were raised very differently. They come together and under this umbrella of what they think is chemistry,
Mm-hmm.
what they think is intimacy, which I don't think people completely understand, that there's many different levels to intimacy. It's not just sex. there's emotional intimacy, there's intellectual intimacy, there's physical intimacy, emotional intimacy. There's many different levels of intimacy that, there's also whether or not you hold value for that person.
Right.
So with my relationship, like, we can go do things with his friends. We can go do things with my friends, but I know that there's times that he just needs to do things with his friends. There's times where I just need to do things with my friends. It's a healthy respect for each other. And what has been foreign to me is that it took a while for me to kind of get comfortable with is trusting that person, because my previous 2 relationships, that trust was demolished.
Right.
And going into this relationship that I'm in now, that has always been, and that this is one thing that I hold a lot of respect and value with him, is that was the most important thing to him. Was, I know the mistakes I made in my previous relationship. I know what I did wrong. I know what I don't want to continue in future relationships and our relationship. So if it gets to this point, as hard as that conversation may be, I need you to speak up. I need you to say something, because I don't want to repeat that same behavior. And the same was for me. Mm-hmm. I was scared to bring up issues that were concern to me or that bothered me, because my experience of that in the past was I would get punished.
Right.
For bringing up, like, hey, this bothered me, and I'd get punished either by being ignored or by being mistreated or disrespected. And so that was foreign to me. That it was the feeling of, like, do I trust this? Is it a true boundary that they're setting? But then learning, like, no, that's a healthy boundary that you're setting with somebody.
Right, but subconsciously, women will test men. You don't know you're doing it, but you're doing it. Like, you were scared to voice your opinion, right? When you did, it scared the shit out of you, but you got the reaction you needed. And so it becomes
the
more
unexpected response. Yeah, it was
right.
like,
But subconsciously, you have to test that boundary, because it's important that you have a voice in the relationship, but you also have to test it to see what the reaction is, because based off what his reaction was could totally change how you guys are today, if not the relationship ending, because it starts to unravel when you don't have that kind of trust, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, look at the relationship both of you guys are in, and then look at all the shit you had to get through to get to that. Like, you know, your boyfriend, he goes out of town quite often, you know, and in the beginning it was a huge deal. Now, not so much anymore, right? And
as hard as it is, like we've talked about, to date now that we're older, that we have kids, it's almost more beneficial because we have our boundaries set. We know what we will and will not accept. When we're 17 and meet someone in high school, we don't have a boundary.
Right.
It's just, oh, this cute boy's giving me attention. And now we know what we will and won't accept, and we can more easily set those boundaries. And I think I've learned so much in my current relationship with that. And it was really, really hard at first. Because like you, in my marriage, I couldn't say, I'm upset about this, because it was either downplayed or dismissed or ignored, and he would just leave, you know? And so...
Or turned around.
Yeah. And
like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah.
Like making it your
problem. Fault. You feel that way, but it doesn't make sense why you feel that way. I didn't do anything to make you feel that way. That's on you. And it's been really hard for me, even now 2 years later, when I have an issue. It's really hard for me to speak up, because to me, confrontation means someone's leaving.
Right.
Or it's going to be a fight. And my boyfriend is not that way at all.
But you
And-
know you have a good guy when an issue gets brought up in a serious manner and you have his undivided attention and he starts to ask like the probing questions to get to the root cause of what it was. Because I'll joke about this, but like women are so emotionally charged all the time that, you know, you had a bad day at work, it carries over into...
You overthink, and then you start...
Well, but like it carries into the relationship when you go home, and then as he sits, like as he sits down and starts asking you questions, it could have been something as stupid as like your socks didn't match that day. Like that, but that's like it, that shit happens, you know? Or like how many rough days have we had at work and you've gone home to vent to him. Now, if he blew you off, you would never, like at so many times trying to do this, you would eventually not do that anymore. Yeah. And then you start to develop the resentment. So like a good guy will actually sit and listen and ask those questions and what I like to call peel back the onion, because, you know, they all have layers to get to what the root cause of the issue is. Because there's a lot of times when you, like when women bring up what the issue is, but it's not the real issue, and it's something that he could have said like 5 fucking weeks ago that he forgot because
we've been stewing about it today.
Oh yeah, like he dropped that nano bomb in your brain and it finally blew up, and now it's, you know, I'm gonna go scorched earth.
Yep.
And then you bring up something totally different, you know.
Yep.
But
you have to have that comfort zone to approach it immediately.
Right.
Because even I still do that, and I'm trying to get past that of he'll do something that irritates me, something that makes me mad. And I'm like, well, I don't want to bring it up right now because the kids are here, or it's our only weekend without kids. I don't want to ruin it by bringing this up. And then it just spirals. And then it's like 6 weeks later, I'm mad about everything he's done between now and then that was minuscule.
Yeah.
But I have built it up,
Right.
and then I'm ready to blow up. And he's so good about talking, and I can go to him and say, hey, you know what, this bothered me. We don't always resolve it right then, because he might, you know, not agree with the way I'm feeling, not agree with my thoughts on it, but we can still talk about it in a respectful way, and he's not going to make me feel bad about it. But it takes so much time to get past that. And when you're younger,
you don't
and you haven't had these experiences, you're not going to take the time to do that. Either you're going to brush it off and let them get away with whatever the hell they want, and you're going to take so much shit because you just want to be loved so badly, or you're just going to stew about it and you're going to implode. And that's exactly what happened in my marriage. I would not approach anything. And actually one of his complaints was we never fight.
Right.
Like, why is that an issue? Because at the time I was like, well, that seems like a good thing, doesn't it? But we had issues that we just never addressed, ever. And
or shit would get swept under the rug.
Yeah, and then back to men just not wanting to let their egos down. You know, when he approached me and said, I want a divorce, I said, well, what about marriage counseling? And he flat out said, I will not pay to go sit and listen to somebody tell me what I'm doing wrong.
But see, that is someone who thinks that they're not wrong, but knows there's issues in the relationship itself.
But wants to blame it all on the other person.
But when you actually get your divorce, how many times has that person came back and said, hey, I made a mistake?
He never has.
But look at the lifestyle he lives now.
I know that there are regrets. And to me, I wasn't the kind of person that my divorce devastated me, that I crawled in a hole. I'm not that kind of person. I'm self-sufficient. I have a life to live. I have a child to take care of. Like, okay, I'm fine. But I was upset, obviously. You know, you have this dream of marrying and, you know, building a life and having your kids together. And I look back now and I am so goddamn grateful that it happened. I mean, what if we would have gone on to have more kids, or 30 years down the road?
Right.
I'm fucking miserable.
But you're not, like, now you're not getting, like, inside information based on the relationships that he's had. But when you look at it from a 10,000-foot bird's eye view, you start to see the same mistakes that were being made when you guys were married.
Yep.
And now you can kind of see, like, if this guy is too stubborn to swallow his pride and admit to mistakes and actually put the work in for himself to change it, whether it's good for the current relationship he's in or better for someone else down the road,
Right.
he's going to do the definition of insanity, which is doing the same things
Repeating the
over and
same
over
thing.
again and expecting different results.
And he will, because he is not the kind of person that will ever admit
Right.
mistake. And so that's why I'm so grateful. And I thought he loved me. I mean, we met when we were 16. And looking back, I think it was comfort. It was, well, we get along. We have the same things in common. You know, we should be together. And now being in the relationship I'm in, I know what it is to truly be loved because of who I am.
Right.
Not because it's comfortable or because it's easy, because it's not. Sometimes it's really uncomfortable and it's really hard.
Right.
But he truly loves me. And I'm so grateful that I went through the bullshit that I did to be where I am now. And I think that's what so many people miss. They just focus on, well, this person treated me badly. I can't get past that. But you need to grow from it. You need to
Right.
learn from it so that you can find that person that's out there for you.
I would tell you this, you know, like, and I'll bring up your friend that's the neighbor, because you and I have had extensive conversations with regarding that whole thing. Because like one of the things like you and I talked about was when you first started to see the guy that you're currently with now, you know, your friend got mad at you because they didn't like them, and or that she didn't like that you were doing certain things because it was different than what she was doing. And one of the things I told you in the beginning was, you know, you brought up like the different levels of intimacy, right? Lust is always the first one, 100%. And
Comes easiest.
it's the easiest. It's the most sensible, like, you know, and she's full of lust on everything that she does. But she couldn't have the same relationship you guys have because she thinks that the little box in between your legs is going to control the relationship. Well, I'm sorry, you know, you get older, gravity happens, you don't look the same. She's doing it in her younger years, which is great. You know, women do this all the time, but if you are getting into a relationship to manipulate someone, like she made a comment like, oh, I really like this guy, I just want him to put a baby in me. What the fuck are we talking about here? Like, you're going to bring a kid into that situation? Like, who is this person? And what it comes down to is it's an insecurity. And it's amazing how there's different levels of insecurity where her thing is like, oh, I better get up in the middle of the night and go to this guy's house and sleep with this guy, or I'm going to lose this guy. But then at the same time, I'm going to be mouthy in text messages and catch this guy's attention. You know how many women out there do that shit? Tons.
And I have one that you know in my life that is the same exact way. She hates my boyfriend. Hates him. I have not really spoken to her since he moved in with me. But she
Good example.
She loved Mr. P Pants when all he wanted was a piece of ass. But the one who's actually truly deep down a good guy, she hates him.
But do you remember the night we went out? And she literally thought that we were getting together because you were introducing us.
Mm-hmm.
And then she came back from going to the bathroom and she's like, we're at an impasse.
Yes.
What are you talking about? We're at an impasse. Well, I feel like, you know, we're going to butt heads because we're two hard-headed people.
I won't chase you. You won't chase me.
Yeah, I'm a very hard-headed person. I know that. It's a fault of mine, but it's helped me out in the long run in relationships as well. Do you remember what I told her?
No.
I said, by the end of the night, I will get your phone number and you will chase me and I won't chase you. And we'll see who wins. I got her number. She chased me forever. I couldn't plan anything with her in the beginning because of how crazy busy we were at work, and that's where my focus is. But at the end of the day, we finally end up getting together, and it ended up getting physical. Now, for me, like when I'm on Adderall, I can't perform. And I was on a very high dosage of Adderall, and I couldn't perform. But what really threw me off was you had given me extensive information about some medical shit she went through. And I wasn't physically turned on by what I saw once the clothes came off. She thought that she gave me blue balls. That was not the case at all. Now, I haven't talked to this girl in forever, but what I can tell you is that shortly after that period, she continued to chase over and over and over again. And it wasn't until like someone came in and actually challenged her to something, because she's so used to running a relationship. And I would tell her all the time, you will not be able to run this relationship. If it's going to work, it's going to be a 50-50 thing. And when it quickly dawned on me that, like, she's going to try to control this because she has a vagina, I was like, okay, hold my beer, watch this. And she ended up losing in the end. But, like, for me, when I come across scenarios like that, and it happens quite often, like, just because you have a pussy doesn't mean you're going to run the show. Like, women can go out at any given time and go get laid. Guys can do the same exact thing. Go to a bar, buy a girl a drink, continue to buy a girl a drink, take her home. It's not a hard concept.
Anybody can do it.
Anyone can do it. So, like, for me, it's like, I don't understand with some women where it's like, oh, you know, I'm beautiful, I have the vagina, I have this, I have that.
I own you.
Yeah. And it's like, no. But there's a lot of guys who fall for that all the time, too. So, like, your guy, your muscle guy, your ghoster, probably fell for that. PP guy, probably fell for that. 31-year-old with the 18-year-old, fell for that. 100%. Hook, line, and sinker, and they're going to get their asses handed to them. The sad part is they're going to get over it, and they're going to rinse and repeat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why dating this day and age is so toxic, because everyone talks about the game. If you're not playing the game, well, there's many different games that can be played. I taught you one of them. You used it to your advantage, and now you're in a relationship. But how much have you learned since being able to navigate, like, just text messages, right?
But it's not like when you say the game, it's not like
it's not a game. It's it's learning how to communicate.
Yeah, it's a communication thing. It's not like it's
trick.
not a trick. Yeah, it's not a trick. It's not some vindictive fake thing. It's just, it's learning each other's communication styles.
Right.
Is kind of how I take it as, is you're telling that person, like, I'm interested, but at the same sense, like, you don't have to keep my attention to keep this going. Like, I'm interested in you. We've established that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk. If we don't talk, I'm fine. You should be fine. You're setting that.
Well, right. But in the beginning, you didn't feel that way.
No.
Because you were so used to guys sending you text messages all damn day. And he didn't do that, and that threw you off. So you didn't know the interest level there.
Right.
And what I taught you was to not do the Tommy boy when he's at the diner and he's trying to talk the lady into turning on the burners for hot wings, and he's got the roll and he's massaging it, and all of a sudden he just tears it apart. That happens time and time again to everyone, where you just divulge way too much information, or you're too much present, and you chase them off. And so the game, and I wouldn't call it a game, the strategy that I taught you was to recognize how much attention you're getting and giving back the same attention, but then also giving space to allow that person to come back into your life.
Yeah, you're giving them that space to kind of make that choice.
Right.
Like, you're giving them the space to make that decision. And granted, it hasn't stayed that way. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there have been times I've divulged way too much, and he's kind of like done the hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if that's what you're looking for, I'm not quite sure that's something I'm able to give you right now.
Right.
Like, if that's what you need, I need to be honest with you. I'm probably not that person for you right now. And it's like, nope, was just something that I was a little bit too vocal about, or just kind of being vulnerable about, and just telling you a little bit too personal insecurity or something, whatever it is.
You didn't tell him to, like, put a baby in you, right?
No.
Okay, good.
No, I'm done with that. He's done with that, so we don't have anything to worry about
That's
there.
good.
But it's it's a learning process that you learn from both of them, because in the beginning, like our communication style from when we first started talking to how it is now, it's completely different.
Good.
And we've both recognized that. Like, we both understand, like, hey, we probably got into this a lot faster than we both anticipated. Whether or not we both thought it was going to get to the point that it is now, I mean, anything can happen, but the good thing and the healthy thing about it is we were both able to like consciously recognize it and just say like, hey, I've noticed this. I know you've noticed that. We both kind of rushed into this, but our feelings for each other haven't changed. Long term, we don't quite know what that is, because something could change tomorrow. Something could change 6 months down the line. He works with the Air Force, and so he could get deployed.
Right.
Something can happen. Like, you never know. And so the understanding that we both have and the ability of being able to communicate as easily as we can was foreign. It was new, but it's helped us to, which was our beginning goal, was to just, we fucked up so many times in the past, his relationship, my relationships in the past, that we know what we don't want.
Right.
And
so let's do something different.
let's do something different. So our goal is, however long it's going to take, we just right now want to build a sound structural foundation where going forward, we know we're not going to have this problem. And we know that we have built that trust with each other so that if I have a problem, I can come to him and feel comfortable. I don't have to be scared of telling him something that he did that might have bothered me, or something that he did that upset me, or
vice versa,
what have you. And he can still feel comfortable that I'm not like coming down on him. Like, I'm creating a safe space for him to come to me, and he's doing the same thing. He's creating a safe space for me so that if, you know, he has a problem. So like, one thing that I've learned is when I'm dealing with stress and when he's dealing with stress, we both have two very different coping mechanisms.
Yours is whiskey.
Sometimes.
Whiskey and shoes.
For me, like, it's sometimes I want to go be with my friends and just go get drunk, or stay home, stay in bed, sleep. For him, that could just be he just is quiet.
Right.
And what feels like disconnect, or what feels like he's ignoring or avoiding me, it's not. That's how he deals with his stress. And me trying to push him out of that or pull him out of that isn't going to end well for either of us. And I've learned that. I've tried to not coddle him, but I've just tried a couple different things because I like to take care of people. So that's how I show my affection. That's how I show my love for people, is by doing things for them, helping them, and wanting to solve their problems, cooking for them, stuff like that. And that might not be something that is helpful to him. For him, it's just, and I've had to learn how to have that conversation with him of like, hey, I know in the past this way of talking to him didn't work, so I'm going to try it a different way. And it was basically something as simple as like, how can I help you feel supported when you are going through this? Because you're going through something that I've never gone through, like with his deployment stuff. Like, he deals with that daily, and I've never been deployed. I'm not in the military, so I don't know what it feels like. And the bits of pieces of information that he's slowly given to me over time, and that's hard because
You want it all.
I want to know. I want to know how to help him, but in the same sense, I just have to be patient, and him slowly giving me more and more is just kind of that confirmation that he's learning to trust me. He's
Right.
learning that I make him feel safe that way, so he can tell me these things, and it's not happening maybe as quickly as I would have liked, or it has happened in the past, but it's taught me how to help him feel supported.
Right.
So for him, he's like, there's nothing you can do. Like when I'm feeling sad, when I'm feeling frustrated, when I'm upset, like honestly, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing I can do about it. I just need you to understand that I'm going through a hard time right now. And I just need you. Sometimes I just want you to just be sitting there next to me. You don't have to be fixing it.
It's one thing I'll kind of go on a little bit of a rant when it comes to guys, and then we'll leave it at this, is to be able to get into something new with a woman or your significant other, whatever you prefer. The courting should never stop.
Yeah.
If you start getting into that routine, that boring, monotonous routine, then a lot of the fucking issues start to come up. And I feel like guys are so, in a sense, they're the biggest pussies when it comes to the courting deal. Like how many times have you guys talked to guys and they're like, well, what do you want to do? Well, what do you want to do? Well, what do you want to
eat?
What do you feel like doing? And it's like, dude, pick the fucking plan and go with it. Whether it's the same place or it's a different place or whatever the situation is, have a plan, have an activity planned, go through it, because at your guys' core as women, you don't want to make all the decisions. Sometimes you just want to sit there, look pretty, and have fun. And the easiest way for that to happen is for a guy to take control. And I'm not saying like sexually or anything, but just have a plan, execute the plan. Don't be a retard when you're on a date, and be normal. And your success, like your chances of success, whether it's sleeping with them or you really like this person, they go dramatically. Because you guys have shared some horrible fucking dating stories, and I'm sure we all have more. But just be normal. Have a plan. Execute the plan.
Take control a little
It's
bit.
so easy.
Yeah. So I kind of have like a caveat to that. So I've always been the type that's like, I'm the woman, the man should take control.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you tell me what you want and I'll do it. Like, whatever you want, whatever I'm comfortable with, like, we'll do it. This relationship has kind of pushed me out of that comfort zone.
Where you have to take more control.
Not that I have to take more control, but learning that, well, I like it when you tell me what you want to do. And it's like, well, I'm not comfortable with that because I've never done it. But going out on that limb, and because for me, I'm like, okay, I don't want to do something or suggest something and get told no, because my insecurity, I'm going to feel like a fucking idiot and I'm going to feel stupid about it.
But do you remember the plan that you and I came up with? And we won't go into too many details about it because I don't want to get into like the intimate portion of it. But remember how I told you, like, this is what you need to do, and you executed it, but it wasn't 100% how I told you, but the results were still the same, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to do that when you're in the relationship. I'm just saying in the beginning when you're, it's a guy's job to court a woman, but it's also their job to continually court the woman, but not in a way where it's like, you'll do what I say.
Yeah.
Like how many times with your situation where it's warm outside and he's like, hey, I want to go horseback riding, or hey, I want to go camping. Are you going to fight that really? Like that's shit you like to do. But the fact that you didn't have to make that fucking decision and he took it upon himself to plan this whole thing, is that not a huge turn on?
100%.
And you
Even if it's something I don't even really like doing.
and how many times
If it's just like, hey, this is what we're doing today.
right. And how many times in the situation you both are in now where it's something like, hey, what do you want to eat? Oh, I don't know. What do you want to eat? And you do this continuous circle. It's so fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, as a guy, I'm not saying like, oh, I want steak and you're going to cook me steak. But at least throw a fucking idea out there. Because, you may want chicken. I know she hates chicken. Or not hates it, but has to cook it
Got my
500 times
issues.
over. But you get what I'm saying? Like, then you can start that whole compromise deal of where it is. So, like, long story short, men need to really start to take control of situations and have plans, Like, when I was really big in the dating scene, I would ask a girl out. I wouldn't ask her what she likes to eat or what she likes to do. I would be able to gauge that based off of previous conversations. So I already knew the plan going into it that, hey, we're going to go to Olive Garden because they treat you like family. Remember that? Then we're going to go bowling. And then after that, we may go to the bar and have a drink. But that's 3 dates in one night. How many times have you just gone to dinner and gone back to his house and did your deal? Park City. And then he showed you the shoe collection, the whiskey collection. That's a boring date. And then the fact you put on a fucking movie, that's even worse because technically you don't really want to talk during a movie. How are you truly going to get to know this person?
Right.
So like for me, like I have dating rules. I don't do dates at movies or anything that requires complete silence. So like I'm a big fan of like the coffee thing. Love it. It's cheap. You sit down, you have
Potentially quick.
have a yeah, you can pull the ejection cord whenever you need to. And or if you like that person, you can ask them out and do the dinner thing. I've had coffee dates that have led to dinner, led to activities, and then led to sex because the whole day was not planned out. It was so spontaneous.
Yeah.
And then like I always felt towards the end of whatever we were doing that I actually do like the person I'm with because I get to see them open up and be like their true selves. Yeah. So men, start courting your women.
Well, that was like why I said like phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't be afraid to have a phone call. Like that's with me and like my current guy is he like we had been talking 2 days. I think it was the second day and maybe it was even the first day. And he said like, are you open to a phone call? And my immediate response was,
No,
I don't want to talk to you on the phone. Like, cause I was nervous. I was insecure about it. And I was just like, yeah, that's fine. And he was like, all right, well, I've got a couple of things I need to do real quick. And how about I call you at this time? We ended up having like a 2.5 hour phone call and learning a little bit more about each other, like hearing the voice and being able to just kind of interact, like have that little bit more closeness made it much more comfortable because
when you meet them in person.
When we met in person, yeah, because like we had that couple hour conversation on the phone and then the next day we text and I had invited him like, hey, and he was like, do you want to do something this day? And I said I'd love to, however I already have plans, but it's a free event. Do you want to join us? Like, I'm going with some friends. Do you want to come join us to it? And he was like, oh, I'm actually free that night. So yeah. So then when it came down to like, we met in person, it wasn't like it wasn't awkward.
Right.
Like, and the odd thing about it was like, when I saw him, I was just like, oh, I know you. Like I had that familiarity with him. So I felt comfortable with him and like, we enjoyed the concert the rest of the night, and then like he came to dinner with me and my friends that night and then came back to my house that night, and it was never I've never felt uncomfortable or awkward with him. And I think that having that conversation, like, and he asked me some hard questions like that I had never been asked before, and it was just like it made me think. It wasn't just those mundane like, what do you like? What are your hobbies? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, there were some hard questions and it it really broke the ice so that it made it, like you said,
Right.
it made me feel like, oh, I want to see this person again. I want to get to know this person more and like see.
I would just tell you in the beginning on anything, especially with the online dating, you really have to be careful divulging too much information because it could push you into like friend zone. It could push you away from that person, where it's best to have like something to actually talk about while you're on the date.
Yeah.
Like one thing I'm good at doing is asking a question and letting a woman talk, to where I have dates where I've asked maybe 10 questions and haven't really divulged anything about myself, but they're open and comfortable with me. And now there's a warmer feeling of going out with me again later on.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I mean, and there's things, I mean, it's been, I don't know, since July. So, I mean, and there's things that we're still learning about each other,
of course.
which it's new. I like it because when I feel like there's not like the crickets in the relationship or whatever, it just feels like there's always something new to it. So it still feels brand new. You still kind of feel like you're in that honeymoon phase, because there's those relationships that you rush into and the honeymoon phase is over in 2 weeks and you're already fighting, you're already breaking up. Like,
Yep.
we haven't like we've had one bad fight, which was devastating to me, but it made me realize like I crossed a boundary.
Right.
And I need to know, like, that was a good thing for me to know going forward. Like, okay, I crossed a boundary, not just the inappropriate, but it was for him.
Right.
It was a personal boundary for him that I realized, like, oh, from past experiences that he's had. So now I know going forward, if I want to have a serious conversation with him, that is not the environment to have it in. And that's not the condition to have it in. So since then, like, we've had things that have come up and I've handled it much better. It's been much calmer. I've had less anxiety. I've had less stress about it, that I've been able to say, like, hey, this is an issue. I don't really want to talk about this over text. How about I come over tonight and we continue the conversation? And we've talked about it, and having the conversation calmly in person, it's developed more trust, and I think it's helped our relationship.
So I'm going to cut this short because I have a obligation I have to get to, but if you guys ever want to come on, whether it's a tandem again or individually, and really dissect a lot of the stuff that we've talked about, because we kind of just covered a lot of areas, just let me know. You guys always can come on and we can talk about this, because this is actually a really popular subject. But I do have to go. I got to figure out where Lee's at and go do our
Your boyfriend date,
our media date. So anyway, anything
Make
else?
sure you do something different tonight with Lee when you're done.
I'll mind the children. Anything else you guys want to touch base on quickly? Okay.
Oh.
Well, thank you for coming on. Sorry for the half hour of wasted footage that we did. Could have ended it a little shorter than that. But again, thank you again, both of you guys, for coming on. And hopefully we can get this out by Valentine's Day. So
hopefully there's no video issues this time again.
Little ones, but how this thing is set up is so different than before. So
Step it up, Jaden.
yeah, Jaden.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.